We have to say that two probably best performances on the pitch were Jack Grealish and Bukayo Saka, right, Gabs?
Yeah, I think, we was watching the game, wasn't we? We said Saka can be one of the players that can force himself into the side. He offers something different. He gets the ball and he takes players on in the outside. And players like Rashford and Sterling, they've got to be careful because he's there to try and take their place. Jack grew into the game bit by bit, playing that number 10 position. And, he was part of the goal.
Yeah, what did you make of the overall performance? I mean, for me, Gabs, it was pretty boring, to be honest with you. It was a non-event, didn't really get going. There was players playing who were not really even featuring in, that are going to be playing in the Euros. So it was kind of a strange situation to be watching an England side warming up for the Euros without playing the actual team. But there were players out there. Grealish was decent. Bukayo Saka was impressed. I think he could be a real weapon for England. But then there was a few where I was a little bit worried, thinking, are you good enough when you're coming up against the top nations?
Yeah, I think it was one of them games, wasn't it? When Southgate, debriefs and looks at the game, you'll think, okay, this was maybe just a game to give the better maybe 7 or 8 players that are in the Champions League and Europa League. They'll be back in that team because even the defence, I felt like, Cody can't play in a back two. There's no chance of that. Trippier is not a left back.
Why don't you think he can play in a back two, guys?
I just think, I watched him a lot, obviously the Wolves and Villa rivalry, but I watched him a lot, and in a back three, I do like him, he can start off attacks, but he needs that extra help in there. We've seen today when Austria got in behind the 2 centre midfielders of England, and they got into them positions. Cody's not a great defender.
No, you can stand him up.
He's not strong, he's not quick, but he can read the game well, but he needs that other defender in there, that backup, a Kyle Walker to help, cover
him.
Absolutely. So for me, it didn't work. That Lingard for me done okay, but he's been asked to play on the right wing today. That was hard for him. He's not really a position he plays in.
It's bad enough to ask him to play when he's just been told he ain't going, and then play him out of position.
Yeah, it would have been nice for him to play in his preferred position, but for me,
he used to do that to Jack, really, though, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he used to play on the right against one of the games he played for England. But I just think, it was one of them games, wasn't it? When he looks back, he'll think, you know what, I'm going to go back to my back five. It looks a bit safer.
Do you think he goes, well, we say back three, but it's a back five?
Yeah, it's a back five.
Well, look, the massive talking point, obviously, the game was average, boring to watch, but the big moment, obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold getting injured. Looks like he's pulled his hammy, Gabs. Doesn't look like he's going to be fit now for the Euros.
I could tell straight away, Jeremy. I've done that injury about 5-6 times in my career. Yeah. When you kick the ball away.
I could never do that injury. I was never quick enough.
But the way he kicked the ball in the air and this is reaction, and you could just tell he got worse and worse as he was walking around the pitch. That could be at least a month, so I'm sure he'll be going home tomorrow to get treatment.
I mean, I know it looked like a hammy. I mean, I think Southgate maybe said it potentially could be a thigh injury. Either way, if he's pulled a muscle, he's out the Euros. Because if it's a thigh, whether it's a calf, hamstring, it's 4 to 6 weeks. We know that, right?
It's bad news for Trent, isn't it? I feel sorry for him because he's forced away into the squad. But
is it a blessing in disguise?
Not really for me.
I mean, do you think Southgate's going to be on the phone to Wan-Bissaka and Matty Cash?
Mate, if there's any English right backs that are playing in the Premier League,
where's Paul Parker and Gary Neville?
I'll put that Jaeger bomb down on holiday and get ready for a call up because he loves defenders, and it wouldn't surprise me, mate, if he called up another right back.
If you're English and you're in Portugal right now, get a flight back because you are getting a call from Southgate in the morning.
Get some water in your system.
Yeah. You need to get out of Maria's in the Algarve, that's for sure. If you're a right back, you're getting a call. Let's go to some calls. Dan, who's a Manchester United fan. Dan, what did you make of tonight's performance?
It wasn't a gripping performance at the end of the day, but I mean, there were quite a few players out. It felt a bit like a dead rubber, really. We didn't learn too much. I mean, Saka did okay, but as you say, against the better opposition, is he really going to make much of an impact at the tournament? Possibly not.
Oh, I think he will. I think he will, Dan. I think he would look dangerous. He's direct. I think he'd go at you with pace. I think he's going to be a real weapon for us in the Euros. I really do.
I just wonder whether there's more players ahead of him, and although they haven't had very good seasons, players like Rashford and Sterling that Southgate trusts are more likely to get a chance ahead of him. But he could be an outside chance, I suppose.
No, I don't know. I mean, look, in terms of the injury, Trent Alexander-Arnold gets injured, Dan. Who would you replace him with? Would you replace him with another right back? Would you bring in a centre half? Would you bring in Ward-Prowse? Or would you just go with a simple option and bring Lingard in?
Well, for me, I think it goes back to what Southgate said at the press conference. He said he's picked his 26 best footballers. He hasn't gone with positions, according to himself. So for me, I think he has to go with Lingard. I think he's the next best footballer, in that 33, if you like. And I think that he's the next one, rather than going a like for like, bringing in another right back, which I think would just be a bit ridiculous, really. For me, Lingard's the one who would go. The next, as I say, what Southgate said himself, that next best footballer.
Yeah, did the game fill you with much confidence going into it?
Not huge. I'll tell you who I worry about. I worry about Pickford a little bit. I think he's a bit hot-headed at times, and he always makes things look a bit dramatic. He's always going for sort of the Hollywood, big punching it out. He's not a safe pair of hands, in my opinion.
Okay.
And he's just one. I wonder in a tournament, in a big game, whether he's got a mistake in him against, certainly in the later stages.
The Sports Bar with Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy. Monday to Thursday night from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.